Chapter 6. Take Your Pick. Lizzie, Dodger, and I had a lot of work to do that night, but we got it done together. The next morning, for the third day in a row, I was the first kid at school. Lizzie was right behind me. Dodger was at home sleeping in his lamp on my top shelf. Lizzie and I each carried a big roller tube of posters and a tape gun. By the time the front doors of the building opened, we had plastered the hallways and classroom doors with our posters. There were an equal number of posters with each picture, but all of them had my name across the top and the same slogan across the bottom. They said, "Vote for Willie Ryan, the true blue candidate." When the last piece of tape was stuck to the last wall, Lizzie smiled at me and I gave her a high five. Then we leaned against the lockers and watched the students come in. People were stopping to read the posters, pointing at them, giving us little thumbs up signs. I saw Craig walk in and read a poster. He actually looked kind of impressed. Then James stepped through the door, pushed Craig's aside, and scowled at my picture. He even reached out to rip the poster off the wall, but then, out of nowhere, Amy was next to him. She stamped on his toes, pushed him away from the poster, and stomped off down the hall. Little sisters, you never know whether to hate them or give them a medal. In class, Miss Starsky announced that we would be doing a whole mini-unit on elections, because it's great to see you all so excited about democracy in action. I swear the woman could turn anything into a lesson. I think if the classroom ceiling collapsed on her, she'd be lying on the floor with a hole in her head. This is a great class. Now we can study how blood circulates through the human body. Apparently the highlights of the unit were going to be an assembly with speeches by each presidential candidate, and then another assembly with a second set of speeches, this time by the vice presidential candidates. And the first assembly would be in only 5 days, assuming I survived that. The second one would be 2 days after that, with the election 1 day later. Jeepers, making posters was one thing, but standing in front of the whole entire school and sounding like I knew what the heck I was talking about, that was a whole new level of terror. I could feel the nervous sweat of failure pouring out of me already. At this rate, I might drown before I ever had a chance to speak. I couldn't wait to get home so I could thank Dodger for getting me into this mess. Lizzie, on the other hand, was squirming in her seat with joy. I knew I was lucky to have her help, but did she have to look so delighted about it? At lunch, all Lizzie could talk about were the assemblies. She babbled on about issues, priorities, and the electoral whatchamacallit thing, while I looked around the cafeteria and tried not to run out of there screaming in a total panic. I wondered how Beeks and Flynn were taking this new development, but I couldn't see them anywhere, until the last minute or so of lunch period when they suddenly appeared against the back wall. Craig looked kind of nervous, but James was pounding him on the back and holding out his hand for a high five. Uh-oh. As soon as the bell rang, I found out why Beeks was so happy. There were new posters in the hallway. They featured side-by-side photos of him and me. Beeks was posing in front of the school with his body facing the camera and his head turned to one side. He looked like a superhero, and the picture of me? Yikes. I was facing the camera and it looked like I had my index finger up my nose. Beneath the pictures in bright red letters were these words, "Beeks or Ryan, take your pick." My mind was churning. As the whole darn 5th grade rushed by me, pointing and laughing, I thought back. How in the world had Beeks gotten that picture? I was pretty sure I'd have remembered if someone had come up to me with a camera and said, "Okay, Willie, stick your finger up your nostril and say, cheese." Then it hit me. The girl at the donut table. When she had told me about the chocolate on my lip, it had been a setup. She had taken the picture on her cell phone camera. Holy cow. Dodger had been right about the lesson of the Little Mermaid. I should have been on the lookout for suspiciously helpful witches. The afternoon was horrible. Everywhere I went, kids were pointing, staring, and cracking up in my face. My class passed Amy's on the way to art class, and she whispered to me, "What are they all laughing about? If you ask me, it's not funny at all." Then she giggled. "It's not funny. Get it?" "Yeah, I got it, Sherlock." After school, Lizzie grabbed my elbows when we got off the bus and marched me toward my house. "What's going on?" I asked. Through gritted teeth, she said, "Crisis meeting." She steamrolled me into my house, right past my parents, and up to my room. As soon as we got there, she strode over and banged 3 times on the side of Dodger's lamp. He appeared beside it in bright orange PJs. He was wearing an old-fashioned nightcap and clutching his ears. Lizzie, ow, what's going on? He asked. I looked at her. Yeah, that's what I said. Lizzie explained the whole poster thing to Dodger. I couldn't bear to hear it again, so I ran downstairs to get a snack. My dad was sitting in a big chair in our living room and asked me, Son, is your friend upstairs talking to herself? Dad, I said with what I hoped was a light-hearted tone. That's silly. Why would Lizzie be talking to herself? Great. Now Amy was investigating us. My mom was practically planning our wedding. My father thought Lizzie was a nutcase. I trudged back up to my room, where Dodger was sitting on my bed. He still had on his bizarre sleeping outfit, but was holding a pencil and a writing pad. Lizzie was using the dry erase board in my room to give him a lecture. And get this, Dodger was taking notes. Then, out of nowhere, I heard the weirdest music. It sounded as if there were a million percussion instruments going at once, but all of the instruments sounded like coconuts being banged against logs or something. There were singers, too, if you could call them that. They were chanting, ook, ook, e, ook, ook, e, over and over in harmony. The effect was kind of amazing. Lizzie said, Dodger, what in the world is that? Looking around with exaggerated casualness, Dodger said, Oh, that? It's just the Chimtopian national anthem. Technically, we should stand up right now, eat a banana, and scratch under our... No, I mean, where is it coming from? He started edging his way towards the shelf that held his lamp. It's just my ringtone, but don't worry, I didn't use my cell phone to call any old magical friends or anything, because I'm not at all worried that you'll get totally slaughtered in the... I mean, I wouldn't just go calling the great... let me just take this call, okay? Back in a jiffy. With a snap of his long fingers, Dodger disappeared into the lamp. The jungle music stopped. Lizzie and I were left to stare at each other in horror. Very quietly, she asked, Did Dodger just say what I think he said? I'm not sure. What do you think he said? What do you think I think he said? I think you think he... Oh, never mind. I think he said he called the great Lasorda, but he couldn't possibly be that dumb, could he? Lizzie looked at me some more, without another word, but the scrunched up look on her face told me everything I needed to know, and that was some scary news. See, the great Lasorda was the super powerful genie who was Dodger's boss for thousands of years, and I had accidentally freed Dodger from working for Lasorda when I wished for Dodger to be my best friend forever. There was this fire in my kitchen, and some really burned salmon, and a baseball game. Oh, and a bunch of magic. Hey, if you think that all sounds pretty complicated, you should have tried living through it. And if Lizzie and I were right, I had a feeling my life was about to get complicated again. Yeah, like it wasn't already. After a few minutes, Dodger popped out of his lamp with a sheepish grin on his face. Well, he said, that was interesting. It seems my dear Aunt Sally has been growing mujango beans on her rainforest garden again this fall, and little cousin Bongo is getting his vine-swinging license. It's always nice to catch up with the old... What? What are you both staring at? Dodger, Lizzie asked, advancing on him. Did you call the great Lasorda today? Well, that wasn't the great Lasorda on the phone just now, I swear. It was just, someone else. I gave Dodger my best raised eyebrow look, which I have to admit I learned by watching Amy. For real? Dodger put his hand over his chest, crossed my arm, and hoped to smell a durian fruit. What the heck, Dodger? Lizzie chimed in. You know, a durian fruit. They're considered a delicacy in Southeast Asia, but are famed for their unpleasant... I don't care about the stupid fruit, Lizzie. I want to know what the heck he was doing on the phone if he wasn't talking to Lasorda. Buddy, it was no biggie, okay? I was just talking to, a member of my family. So, Lizzie, Dodger said, can you get back to telling me about your three-part election strategy? He smiled dazingly at her. I love hearing all of your clever plans. Lizzie fell for it. She totally let Dodger distract her from whatever trouble she had been creating on the phone. I swear, she's willing to argue with me at an instant notice, but she instantly forgets her brains for the first flattering chimp that comes along and flashes some teeth her way. Girls. Well, at least I would get to hear Lizzie's brilliant ideas. Apparently, our campaign should address three topics, which Mrs. Starsky had explained while I was staring out at the classroom window and panicking. The topics were school climate, school rules, and school spirit, so we needed to come up with intelligent things to say about each of them. Lizzie stood next to the dry erase board, chewing on the closed cover of a marker, waiting for our input. I was racking my brains trying to come up with something that sounded like a president might say, when Dodger jumped straight up in the air and shouted, "I've got it! I've got it!" Lizzie was so startled that she accidentally bit down on the capital marker, splitting it in half. She got a mouthful of bright blue ink and ran out of the room gagging. I ran after her while Dodger hid himself in my closet. Lizzie ran into the bathroom and slammed the door behind her. Of course, this was the perfect moment for Amy to appear, so she came out of her room, chewing a huge wad of gum. She walked around me, Sherlock Holmes, styled deer stalker cap on her head, and examined me with her magnifying glass. I didn't say a word. I just hoped Amy might finish checking me out and go away before Lizzie came back out. No such luck. Amy turned away from me and knocked on the bathroom door. "Ick!" Lizzie exclaimed. "What?" I asked. "Ick!" Amy put one hand over on her hip and used the other to poke me in the chest with her magnifying glass. "What in the world does that mean, Willie? Did you guys come up with some kind of dorky president code just so I wouldn't be able to solve your campaign secrets? Come on, you can tell me. I'm your sister. What does ick mean?" "I don't know. I swear, Lizzie. Are you okay? What does ick mean?" The door burst open, and Lizzie was standing there with a fluorescent blue stain all around her mouth. When she opened her mouth to yell at me, I saw that her teeth and tongue were blue, too. "It's permanent, you goofball." I started to apologize and tell Lizzie that I didn't think that particular brand of marker caused permanent stains, but Amy started talking fast and talking first. "Well, jeepers, Lizzie, you could have just said so." The next thing I knew, Lizzie was running out of the house. Amy was still standing next to me on the top of the landing. She blew a bubble, cracked it loudly, and said, "God, I hope when I meet a boy I'm going to marry, I'm not so obnoxious to him."